I think I see a couple stragglers. We'll hold for them. Come on in. Okay, good evening. Welcome to the Rochester Sentinel and Rochester High School 2023 primary election debate. I'm Christina Seiler, managing editor of the Rochester Sentinel. Joining me in planning and on stage tonight is Abram Ferrara, Rochester High School government teacher. Our RHS student panelists are Melody Heisey, Bella Riffle, Elizabeth Weaver, and Caden Towell. Did I pronounce that right? Towell. Timekeepers are Mandeep Singh, Lola Brady, and Delaney Barkman. Abram will explain in a few minutes the format and rules of our debate between the Republican mayoral candidate, political newcomer Trent Odell, and incumbent Mayor Ted Denton, who has served 2 terms. The history of these debates is lengthy, with my Sentinel predecessor, Bill Wilson, organizing the first one in autumn 1986, when a young Democrat named Jim Johns made his first and only successful congressional bid. Our goal tonight is twofold. First, we want to give our candidates a chance to introduce themselves, make their views known, and exhibit how they react when under pressure. Second, we hope to promote civic engagement among our students and help them learn about their local government and larger governmental processes. As we proceed, we would like to thank RTC Communications and WROI Radio for broadcasting this event. Please stand as Megan Allen sings the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
For the debate tonight, each candidate will get 2 minutes for their opening statement, and then they'll get 2 minutes for a closing statement. When we do each one of the questions, the first candidate that talks to answer the questions will get 2 minutes, and then the rebuttal will get 1 minute. We'll have the questions set up in the round, so we'll have 12 questions altogether for tonight. In the first round of questions, we'll have 3 panelists ask questions, and then the Sentinel will ask a question. And then we'll go back to the panelists, and they'll ask 3 questions, and then the Sentinel will get 1 question. And then for our last 4 questions, the candidates will each ask 2 questions of each other. When the candidates are talking, there will be people holding the time signs. So we have Mandeep, he has a time sign, and he'll hold those up in the air so that way people can see him. And then Lola and Delaney will have the other set of time signs, and again, they'll hold up in the air, so that way everyone can see how much time is remaining. All cell phones are expected to be turned off, so please make sure your cell phones are off. Only questions from the panel are permitted. All still photography besides the Sentinel photographer, the Manitoba Ripple staff, or Rochester Schools Marketing Department is prohibited, and recording for the tonight is from RTC and WRO. Please make sure to hold your applause until our debate is finished. And for our coin toss, if Superintendent Janet Vance would come up with a coin.
Good evening. I want to begin by sharing just a little bit about the coin. Rochester Schools, for the past 5 years, has issued a challenge coin to employees who go above and beyond. The coin itself is very, very simple. It has a zebra head on the front. It's plain on the back, but the meaning and the message behind the challenge coin is much greater than that. In order for an employee to receive the challenge coin, they must be recognized by their peers for going above and beyond consistently every single day in the job that they do. It shows a level of integrity and a level of dedication to the organization and encourages others to rise to that same level. So this evening, I am honored to present tonight's coin to Chris Hooks. Chris has been a part of our maintenance team, not quite a year yet, Chris? 4 months. And already he is recognized by his peers as a leader within the district. For the work you do.
Thank you.
So Chris, this is yours to keep.
Okay.
This will be the coin that we flip tonight.
Okay.
You're gonna, my understanding is
Here. Those heads just like soup boiled.
And don't yell zebra.
Here we go. All right.
thank you.
About 8 years ago, we were getting involved in the community. We had been here off and on since mid-90s. And it just kind of crossed my mind as I was becoming more part of the community, how much I love this community. And for whatever reason, the idea came to my mind that I would think I would enjoy being mayor at some point in time. Life got busy. Didn't really give it too much thought. Bought the lumberyard. Things got really busy. And then I was approached about the possibility of running for mayor. So that to me was a little bit of a confirmation. So the last couple of years, we've investigated that possibility, listened to a lot of people. But the big thing was the pieces of puzzle of my life kind of started falling together. Things began to make sense that maybe this was the next step. Maybe this was the next calling. So I've kind of seen it as a calling. And as I've discussed the possibility with many people, it felt like the void that existed was something that I felt like I could fill, a gift that I had been given. But I knew I had a lot to learn. I still have a lot to learn. But I do and know that you have to surround yourself with good people. We have a lot of great amenities in this town, and probably the best amenity we offer is the people themselves. And I really have appreciated getting to know so many through the retail lumber business and conversing with them on a regular basis. But so I want to just allow people to use their talents, their abilities, their vision, their dreams to really become a part of the progress that I believe Rochester can make.
I've said before, standing up here for opening statements, this is a job interview tonight. And when we're finished, you should be able to choose the person you'd put in the job. Any job interview starts out with a resume. I have a pretty heavy resume. I had 35 years of top management experience in the private sector. Of course, 7 years as mayor. Prior to that, I was on the city council for 4 years. My management style is based on goals and objectives, along with completing over 60 projects, resulting in a brand new Rochester compared to 7 years ago. And if you weren't around 7 years ago, you can't relate to that, but there is a big difference today. I've done this without raising your taxes or your utility fees. Let me restate, not raised your taxes. The savings from projects that we have had, like LED lighting and negotiating for health insurance and numerous other things, looking contracts over and what have you, over the 7-year period has saved the city $4,728,000. Those funds can be pulled back and put into the general fund to help with other projects. The other thing that's happened is that we had an administration, we started an administration that did away with any favoritism. And it's clearly an administration where we treat everybody the same, whether you live in a $30,000 home or a $1 million home. I'm a daily problem solver. And, you know, I don't have a business I'm trying to run as being mayor, and I don't have a wife working in the system anywhere for anybody. I don't have any children in the school. Nobody has any strings on me. I'm not a puppet for anyone. Thank you.
All right. And now we will have the panelists ask the first question, and Mr. Odell will answer the question first.
What civic organizations or nonprofits have you been involved with the last few years?
Outside of my service to local churches around Kokomo, that's as far as other nonprofits we've been helping financially. I made a commitment when we bought the lumberyard that 0.5% of our gross sales would go to the Rochester Optimist Club. I did that for a couple of reasons. One was I really was appreciative of how they distributed money to the area youth organizations, but also because I was at the time going back and forth quite a bit to Kokomo to the farm, it kind of took the burden off the people there to have to decide who do we give to and who do we not. I didn't want that to become an issue. So when people come in, or individuals or other organizations come in asking for money, we could say, well, this is what we do. But I have helped other organizations, but as far as an actual involvement, other than the Optimist Club, that's been about it.
Buttle?
Involvement in the community goes to a lifetime. I'm born, bred, and raised here in Rochester, so I'm a 40-year member of the Optimist Club. I'm a member of the American Legion. I'm a member of the VFW. I'm a member of the Eagles. I was the president for several years of the Girls Softball League, and numerous jobs with the Little League. I was an umpire for 40 years, both at the Little League, Babe Ruth, and also high school. Had numerous involvement in the community. You have to be engaged in your community.
Thank you. Second question from our panelists will be Elizabeth. Go ahead.
I understand that there is a proposal being brought forth to allow the use of golf carts on city streets. What do you believe the pros and cons of allowing golf carts on city streets are? And do you believe that golf carts should be allowed to be driven on city streets?
That's a good question. It's quite the controversial question right now. The thing that you need to remember is the mayor doesn't make any of the ordinances. The mayor doesn't even have a vote when it comes to ordinances. The city council is the legislative branch of the city. They make the laws and they also put the budget together. The mayor and his board of works members are the statutory side of the city. We have to make sure the laws get enforced. So I really don't have a say. Anything I might say would be a personal opinion at this time. And right now, this subject is coming forward to the city council, and I wouldn't want to say anything to influence that right now.
Mr. Odell, your rebuttal?
When I was first asked about my thoughts on that, my first concern was, well, wonder what law enforcement thinks. I don't want to put an excess burden on them. Is that something that's an issue? So I've done some checking with other municipalities that had a golf cart ordinance, and the issues are basically not existent. So there didn't seem to be an issue there. So I'm for them. I mean, like Ted said, it's not going to be my decision, but my opinion is there's no real legitimate reason not to have them. I think with the lake community, it's pretty common to have golf carts, but you can't just isolate the lake community from the rest of the town. So if you want one, if you can follow the procedures of getting your golf cart equipped properly, I have no problem with having them at all.
Thank you. Third question from the panelists will be from Bella. And Odell will start on this one.
How do you plan to maintain and grow the parks, pool, golf course, and other outdoor activity spaces for the community?
One of the things I've really kind of built my platform on is trying to get individual private citizen involvement. Obviously, there's money that's being spent in all those areas routinely every year, but a lot of that work can, I think if we can build some enthusiasm from the private citizen to help with those projects, to help make all our parks cleaner and better, and maybe get some private investment going to help just make these things just a little bit nicer, a little bit more appealing, not only to the community but the outside visitors. I believe the golf course and the pool are great amenities, the park, but the golf course is one that I believe, I know from personal experience, I brought friends up here from out of town and they love this course and they play some of the nicest courses in the state. So we do have a lot of outside people come in and spend money at the golf course, but then they go out to eat at the restaurants and spend money at the shops. So I think it's a huge amenity for the town. We need to keep it up, but as well as the pool and the park.
Go ahead with your rebuttal, Mr. Denton.
Okay, yes, the parks and the pool, they're very important. We've dedicated to keep everything up the best we can with the finances we have to work with. We've got a park board president sitting right out there tonight who's a former CEO of one of our companies in town. So those are the kind of people we put on our boards to have the business acumen to make these things work. We've put a lot of money into the pool. The pool's 50 years old, and we're continuing to upgrade parts of it as we go along. The golf course, 3 years ago, the golf course was hitting about a $300,000 loss a year. We've cut that down to almost 100 now with some different management techniques and such. So we want to continue to do those things and make everything get better and better as we go. You can't do it overnight.
Thank you. Next, the Sentinel will ask a question, and Mr. Denton will go first.
Rochester has a substantial lack of decent and affordable rental and purchasable housing. Yet it's a proven fact that such housing is critical to economic development. Are you willing to do what it takes, including with other agencies and governments, to solve this problem?
Thank you. Well, yes, as you probably know, we're part of the Housing Coalition. I'm on the committee. We'll be meeting here very soon. But April the 4th, I have a group from the mayor's office going up to Plymouth. We've had some people reach out to us, the Collins folks in the real estate business up there, who put community crossings together up there out on 30. Housing and apartments that are affordable priced housing, not low income, but affordably priced. They'd like to talk about a project in Rochester. So we have a coalition going up for talk about that. Yeah, there's lots of discussion going on, and we're part of it.
Thank you. Mr. Rodell?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the study shows. There's several ideas. One idea was presented to me was a possible retirement community, not in assisted living, but a retirement community. I know there's been several elderly that had to move out of their homes because they could no longer navigate the stairs, and it just wasn't set up well for them. So they were moved into a different location or a different place. I don't know how popular that would be. It'd be interesting to take a poll and talk with people and see if there's any interest in something like that. But the thing about a retirement community is that would open up some homes in the city that could be bought, or hopefully at a reasonable price that would fill some voids in that area. But I'm with Ted on, we look at every option available and try and do it with some good stewardship.
Thank you. Our next question is from our panelists, and it's going to be from Melody, and Mr. Odell will go first on this question. Go ahead, Melody.
What is a personal ethical dilemma that you have faced, and how did you resolve it?
It is a tough question.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest challenge I've had in my life was I went through a lengthy period, about 8 years of very low hog prices when I was raising hogs back in the late 90s and 2000s, and it was very draining, and I was really against the wall financially, and it really wasn't because I made bad mistakes. It was just because of the combination of disease and low prices. So that was a period where I kind of lost my faith. I was kind of mad at God for a while after that. Didn't understand why I had to go through something like that, and didn't really understand it until I started going, really when I bought the lumberyard, I guess, because that was a stressful period too, but had kind of come through a much more stressful, so I was kind of used to that. But then this has been a very relaxed process, I think, because you go do something like that, it hardens you, it calluses you to other battles or other stresses, and this has just been a very relaxed campaign to this point.
Mr. Denton, rebuttal.
I always like to grab the mic and walk up because you guys are upstaging me if you're in the theater department, right? It's a good question. I'll tell you a life question here that's happened in the mayor's office. I had a vendor come in and trying to sell something that was being purchased in other areas around me and with other municipalities and counties, pushing hard. And he finally leaned over the desk and he said, "Tell me, Mayor, what's it going to take to get you on board?" And I leaned over and I said, "If you're not asking me what my target price is for this product, then this conversation is highly improper." When you're in the mayor's position, you have people who can approach you like that at different times and mention it in different ways, but they're trying to buy you. And if you're an ethical person, you'll stand firm and say, "Not me."
That'll be it for your time. Next question is from Melody, and Mr. Denton will go ahead, Melody.
What do you think the primary role of mayor is?
Can I come back up here? The primary role of mayor is to be the leader, not only of the city organization, but of the city. And with that comes a high responsibility. You'll never find me on Facebook with a beer in my hand. You'll never see me going into some places where, the mayor really shouldn't be going into. You very rarely will see me outside of wearing a sports coat. Most of the time, sports coat, sometimes a tie, and a lot of times a suit. The mayor speaks as Rochester. You lose your personal identity. You're no longer Ted Denton. You're mayor of Rochester. And you have to be aware of that all the time and keep that bar high so that your city is kept high.
Thank you, Mr. Denton. Mr. Odell, rebuttal.
I think a lot of what Ted said is I could mimic or just copy and paste, but I also think I see it as kind of a conductor of an orchestra. You're taking a lot of people, not just employees of the city or the department heads, but you're also taking a private citizen, the one that's got the energy and the ideas and the passion and wants to get involved, and trying to coordinate that, sit down at the table and talk things through and try and put a plan together that can use their creative ideas and then create something beautiful out of that. So you're taking a lot of different talents and putting those together to hopefully raise the bar of the town, but also just create a new wave of energy throughout the town.
Thank you, Mr. Odell. Next question from our panelists will be from Melody, and Mr. Odell will go first in this one. Go ahead, Melody.
What previous leadership roles have you held that you think have prepared you for the role of mayor?
started probably way back in college. I was a leader of the fraternity I was in, a vice president as a sophomore. Then got involved in the farm. Middle of the 90s, I took a role as a worship leader. Was a worship leader for about 20 years. In 2001, I volunteered to be an intern pastor in between pastors at our church, which lasted a little over a year. Right after that, I was a head basketball coach of a small Christian school, boys varsity team in Kokomo. That was a huge learning experience where I kind of went in, I knew some about basketball. I love basketball, but I knew how to discipline kids just by, a gentle authority. But God brought a person in, alongside me who had played college basketball, so he knew the X's and O's. And that was my first experience of really seeing how people complement each other. And then after that, I've led several leadership men's teams on weekends that I was responsible for putting teams together, and I always try and piece those teams with their strengths and where they could all complement and accomplish some wonderful things we saw happen with some individuals. And then, of course, most recently, when I bought the lumberyard, I knew very little about the lumber business, but through the course of about 3 months when we put that deal together, just the pieces of that kind of fell into place. The right people came, and then shortly thereafter, we hired a young lady who has just really changed the atmosphere there. And my goal was to try and create an environment where people came in, and we hoped that when they left, they thought, that's a pleasant place to do business. I want to go back there. And that's exactly what I want to do for Rochester, is create that kind of a thing where we have visitors from outside. When they leave, they think, you know what, that's a neat little town. I want to go back. I may want to put my business there. I may want to put my residence there someday.
Thank you, Ms. Ordell. Rebuttal, Mr. Denton.
I've held leadership positions in the community all my life. I started out as the youngest staff manager that Camcar Textron, used to be Torx Products, screw factory on 31, ever had. I was a 26-year-old personnel manager. And at that time, I was the youngest personnel manager Camcar Textron ever had. And I left to go to work for Marshall Electric about 8 years later. And when I left, I still was the youngest personnel manager Camcar had, but I had the most experience. I've been president of the Girls Softball League, as I mentioned. I've been president of the Optimist Club. I've been president of the United Way Committee. I've been parish council president of my church, the Catholic Church. I've had numerous positions in the community, and they've all been in a leadership role. It seems like when you have that talent and that ability to do things and get things done, they make you the leader.
Thank you, Mr. Denton. All right. Next question will be from the Sentinel, and Mr. Denton will go first.
The Rochester City Council, whose meetings are presided over by the mayor, has continually shunned common practice and ruled on ordinances after 3 readings in one night, giving the public no or very little chance to discuss issues ahead of a vote. Will you stop that practice?
First of all, that's up to the council. They vote on making that happen or not. They can stop and say, no, we'll carry this over to the next meeting. So, yeah, we're pretty much at the mercy of what the council wants to do. It's their meeting. The mayor, as I mentioned before, doesn't have a vote. He sits there to run the meeting, but he really isn't a participant with the group. It's the council's meeting, and that choice has been with the council for the most part. You're right. There is an inordinate amount of that. I haven't seen a lot of people, though, tearing the doors down to get into the meetings. I like the fact that we're televised, and it tickles me to death that it's going to be the law for municipalities and counties in 2025, I believe. So having them televised, people get to watch at home, but they still don't come and say, hey, we want to participate.
Thank you, Mr. Denton. Go ahead with your rebuttal. Bill?
I'll always try to suggest to the council that the public needs to be heard, but I've watched a lot of those meetings on TV. I've been to one so far, but I have watched several. But and he's right, there isn't a lot of public attendance unless there's a major issue or an issue that is seems like the more divided it is, the more people you have show up for those types of things. But, you know, we'd love to hear, I want to create an atmosphere at these meetings to where we want to hear not only the concerns, but also the ideas. So, yeah, public opinion matters, and it's going to be a huge part of our meetings if I can get the council to go with it.
Thank you, Ms. Burdell. And now we're to our cross question section of our debate tonight. Each candidate will go back and forth, and they'll ask 2 questions to each other. And Mr. Odell will ask his question first to Mr. Dent.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, what is your plan for maintenance for Mill Creek?
Well, if you remember, we just did a major project with Minnow Creek, and that was in concert with the county. Mill Creek, we'd be happy to sit with the surveyor and the water board and pay a fair assessment to help take care of that. But what I don't like to have happen is what happened a couple of years ago. Be brought to a meeting and find out that the city should pay $15 an acre for the maintenance of Mill Creek, and the farmers and everybody else have negotiated down to $4 an acre. It has to be fair. It has to be equitable. And yeah, we would be happy to pay an equitable amount to take care of Mill Creek.
Your rebuttal, Mr. Odell.
Well, right now it's being tied up in litigation, so there's no money in the fund to help Mill Creek at all. $15 is not an unreasonable amount. The city, and you can think about this kind of like if I dump this bottle of water into a sponge versus on top of this table, you're gonna have immediate runoff from the table. That's kind of like the city. You have a large percentage of runoff directly into the creek when you have a big rain. So that stream has to be maintained. It's more vital that you move a vast amount of water in a hurry there than it is from the absorption that you have out in the county. So that assessment is going to have to be put back into place in order for that specific ditch fund to have the money available to do maintenance, which means removing trees. And there's a lot of trees on that creek so that we can make sure we don't have any flooded businesses or residents.
Thank you, Mr. Odell. Mr. Denton, your question. Mr.
Brent, this may be a softball for you, I don't know.
I hope so.
You're a businessman. You've been in business now in town for about 4 years, and it's a business that, in your own words, you've put a lot into. The mayor has just scheduled 84 meetings a week, or a year, and another 30 or 40 are added to it as you go along. There's a lot of time spent in the mayor's office. How in the world are you going to be able to be a full-time mayor and also a full-time businessman in a new business in the community?
Well, I've also got a business on the farm in Kokomo, but this will be my last year. If I'm elected, this will be my last.
Do you sleep?
This will be the last year I'll be farming. I've got arrangements made for that to be done for me, so that part will be gone. The last 4 years have been extremely busy at the lumberyard. It needed a lot of work. We've been building efficiencies. We've had some employee turnover, and we've grown a lot. So, but probably right now especially here in the next 3 to 4 months, once we get our showroom kind of finished up, I have some great people there that understand my full-time commitment. And being in livestock for 37 years, I probably understand commitment more than most, because you're on call 24/7, 365 with livestock. So, and then there's a period of years where I actually had to go out and take care of those things when I was losing money. So I do understand a full-time commitment. And like I said, I've got great employees at the lumberyard. We've got things really smoothed out and efficient. And I don't have any question at all. I'll be able to make the full-time commitment to the job.
Thank you, Mr. Odell. Mr. Denton, rebuttal.
Well, I can tell you firsthand, in almost 8 years now, I haven't had one vacation. It's 24/7. We've got some great people working at the city. but they're always looking for somebody sitting at the head of the conference table to handle major decisions and stuff. And you can't do the projects that we've done and not be totally committed to it. My cell phone is known by everybody, and the calls are numerous, and I'm very approachable. So it is a full-time job.
Thank you. Mr. Odell, your question, Ms. Beth.
Why haven't you been more involved in the AIM Northern Indiana Mayor Roundtable discussions?
You know, the fellow that I followed in office had a perfect attendance certificate for all the mayor's meetings and everything. He actually had an addition to the salary ordinance of an individual to serve as deputy mayor while he was gone traveling all over the state. I've been to one session, and what I found out was we got about 20 minutes, maybe half an hour of some good stuff, and then the rest of it was all social. The previous mayor even had the chief of police driving him, and the chief has said to me numerous times, "Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to stop being a chauffeur and be a policeman." So I don't do that. I'm engaged with the business of Rochester. I don't need to travel and be involved to that extent.
Thank you, Ms. Dent. Mr. Odell, your rebuttal.
Well, we don't share the same view on that. I believe in networking with brilliant minds around you, and whenever you have the resource available to you. I've met with a couple mayors of some of the northern towns in the northern half of Indiana, and I plan to meet with a lot more. But that's one thing that they really feel like is a strong opportunity to learn, to bounce ideas off of. I mean, some towns have dealt with things that now we have to deal with it, and you can gain a lot of wisdom and a lot of advice from those individuals. So that is something I'm going to make a point to be involved in routinely, because I think it's a great avenue to gain some wisdom and ideas for your own town.
Thank you. Mr. Dent, your question for Mr. Odell.
Okay, last question. And you probably knew this was coming. When I was in your, I stood up here and I said, I want to make it perfectly clear that you're going to go to the polls and you're going to vote for a mayor, but you're really voting for a team. Statutory side of the city, those who are enforcing the laws and those who are doing city business on a daily business, is the Board of Works, the mayor and his two appointees to run the city. Who are your two appointees going to be? I think that's transparent.
I'll tell you exactly who they're going to be. They're going to be people that have unique experience, expertise, unique from each other, unique from me. They're going to have the same heart, the servant's heart, a humble heart. I have not decided upon them. If I get elected on May 2nd, we don't know what the Democrats might do before July 3rd. But at some point, after I've had my opportunity to meet more people, get a better, deeper understanding, it's easier to find people with a talent than it is to find them with the right heart. Right now, I've got a couple people in mind that are extremely talented individuals, with different sets of different skill sets, different expertise from each other, and also my own. Don't know if they'll be them, or don't know if that'll be the choices I make, but right now I'm not going to announce a name.
Mr. Dent, your rebuttal.
Well, you should know at this point, is my opinion. You're heading with a plan. You need to have a plan. So you should know who that is, and the voters should be told who that is, because it is a team that you're voting for.
Now we're going to move on into closing statement. Each candidate will get 2 minutes for their closing statement, and Mr. Dent will go first.
Okay, thank you, and I'd like to thank all the participants tonight. Brent, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank Mr. Ferrara, Christine, panelists here. I think it's great having you here. And I'd like to thank WROI, RTC, Sentinel, and Shopper's Guide is out there. I don't know if I saw anybody, but thank you to all the media. This is not the time to think of changing horses in the middle of the stream. I'm a proven, successful leader who has plenty of experience. Trent has none, and he has some very idealistic ideas. I would love to see some things like that come through, but the city is a business, and it has to be run like a business. And running a hands-off type of business we've seen in the past has not worked very well, and it's been the detriment to Rochester. So you have to be engaged. Just remember, we've got some tough things coming up. We're still in the recession, whether anybody wants to believe it or not. My property taxes went up $1,000 last year, and we got commissioners telling us the next year taxes are going to be 18% higher, your property tax. The local option income tax has gone up. So we're paying more and more and more, and it seems like for less and less and less. So you need somebody at the city who's going to be fiscally responsible and make sure the spending is controlled. We need a new well field. That's a major project coming up. We need to finish Apache Drive. We need to complete the swimming pool project. We've got a leachate transmission line that we're engineering to put together. And there's just numerous things to do. So with your support in another 4 years, I get to make a difference in getting these. Thank you.
Mr. Dent. Mr. Odell, your 2-minute closing statement.
In one of the books I've been reading on economic development, there's a quote that I really liked. It says, if you think of a city as a mechanical thing, you tend to come up with mechanical solutions. But if you think of a city as a living organism, suddenly it's all about relationship. Mechanical operation involve a few chosen for that purpose, but a city full of life involves every one of us. Young people, I want to thank you for your involvement tonight. I encourage you to stay engaged. We need your energy. We need your ideas. We need to know your dreams and your ambitions. As mayor, I promise I will always have an ear to hear what you have to say, and I will always be looking for ways to utilize your talent. But to all of you, I promise cooperation. I promise integrity. I promise dedication to nurture, support, and even amplify your ideas so that together we can have a growing love for our community. Thank you so much.
We encourage Rochester residents to exercise their vote on May 2nd. The polls are open 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., and there is a single polling place, the Community Resource Center at 625 Pontiac Street. Thank you all for coming or watching online tonight, and please get home safe and sound. We thank the candidates for coming and engaging with us. We certainly appreciate it. So that's it. Good night, everybody.
Give the guys a big round of applause.